Welcome to Heinz Seniors Coaching Up. Get access to the P3AK High Intensity Training ebook and its exclusive video tutorials. Commit with Heinz's coaching right now and be provided with a year of meal plans, training programs, and more. www.p3akday.com. There is no room for the littles.
She was killed. And they tried
the top
to
six
cover it
girls
up.
really look great, but you seem to have that perfect aesthetic.
I wasn't
look.
into hip hop or even soul music.
There are definitely people that need a little Viagra.
Welcome back to Live With, brought to you by Species Nutrition. I'm Dave Palumbo, and today's guest is now officially the Giant Killer, winner of an open bodybuilding show as well as the 212 Olympia, one of the, I think, the only men in history to do that. Well, maybe David Henry. I'd like to welcome Shaun Clarida, my good friend, to the show. Congratulations.
What's going on, man? Thank you so much. It's still very much surreal right now.
Actually, I think you really are the only person, because David Henry won the 202 Olympia. So you won an Olympia that was 10 pounds heavier. So I think that would kind of escalate you to a slightly higher level than David Henry.
Yeah.
Even though David Henry's a great giant killer in his own right.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, though, for sure. I think it's unbelievable to be able to go from winning the Olympia title to winning an open show. And yeah, I'm still on cloud nine.
You know, I was wondering, and I didn't ask you this before the show, but because I wanted to ask you on the air. Would you have done the open show had you won the Olympia?
No.
No, I didn't think so.
No.
So it was actually good. I always say everything happens the way it's supposed to. It was actually a good thing that you lost that Olympia, because you never would have tried.
You know, honestly, before the show, the Olympia, I knew that show was coming up, and a part of me said, if I don't win the Olympia, I'm definitely considering the Legion. And then the night I placed second is when the decision was made that I was going to the Legion. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm actually happy you lost the Olympia just because of that. Because I've been thinking about you doing an open show, and it's funny because Lee Priest is always saying, Shaun's got to win and compete in the open if he wants to, beat big guys and say I'm a giant killer. And I say, I wonder if Shaun would ever consider doing that.
Oh yeah, that was always a plan. I'd say one day I would. But again, it has to be the right timing, right everything. Right. And then this just happened to fall in place. It was only 2 weeks later after the Olympia. I was still in shape. Yeah. I was still very motivated to get back on stage, and it just worked out very well.
Right. I wonder if Derek, I haven't asked Derek this. I will ask him eventually. But I wonder if he's thinking in his head, man, I should have done the open class. I should have tried to go over that too. I didn't even think to do that. But when you win the Olympia, it's like you don't want to go, you don't want to like ruin the high of the title in a sense, right?
Exactly. Again, if I had won the Olympia, you would not have seen me at the Legion.
So now, what did you weigh on the stage, both at the Olympia and at the Legions?
So at the Olympia, I was 178 the morning of, and at the Legion, I was 174.6.
Oh my God, really? These guys are probably cringing in the 174. Holy mackerel! You look. Yeah. First of all, I told people 180, and people thought you were more than that, and then some people thought you were less than that, but I said, there's no way he's more than 180, because I know you always tell me what your weight is whenever we talk, and I didn't realize you went down that low. That's incredible.
Yeah, because we continued to diet, obviously, and we really wanted to, the night that we made the decision, Matt and I sat down, and they said, are we going to play the size game and try to fill out and match these guys, or are we going to try to beat them on conditioning? I said, we're going to continue to. I know these guys aren't always going to come in 100% sharp, so I felt like if I came in sharp, I had a good chance of being in that top 5. Right. So we decided to keep dieting, and he actually pushed me a lot harder, I believe, for this show for that reason. And we're definitely sharper, tighter, and very much on point for this show.
Do you get in shape easy, or do you have to suffer? Because I never asked you that either.
No, I get in shape pretty quickly to the point where Matt has to continuously feed me a lot of food. Okay. So we'll have cheat meals all the way up until like 4 weeks out.
Right. Okay. So, which makes it easy for you to jump in another show, of course, because you don't have to worry. You're not going to get out of shape in a sense.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because I felt Sergio looked better maybe at the Olympia, even though he was maybe a little watery, but I didn't think he was any harder, after whatever it was 3 weeks later at this show.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's one benefit I have. Obviously, not having to make the weight class as well, and just always being in shape all year round. So.
I can't believe you were 174. Holy mackerel. I wonder what Lee Labrada was I don't think even he was that light, was he?
I think he was 177, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, so I wonder if you're like one of the lightest guys to ever win a, open pro show, in modern times.
I think I am.
In modern times, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what some of these like Danny Padilla's weight and stuff like that, but I'm talking about in modern times. I think you're probably the lightest guy to win a pro show, which goes to show you weight doesn't mean anything because you looked a lot bigger on stage,
Yeah, it's an illusion. People, going to the show, everyone obviously based on height and weight assumed I was going to get killed.
Yeah.
But again, they don't realize it's a total package. The scale doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
And if you're able to bring the conditioning with enough muscle mass, which I do for my body, things happen. So.
How tall are you, Shaun?
5'2".
You are 5'2". Okay. Are you sure you're 5'2"? You're not 1 3/4 or anything?
I mean, I may have shrunk a little bit. I have no.
all that heavy squats. I've never seen anyone. You lift some heavy weights in the gym, man.
Dave, since day one, you've seen me train every single. That's the only way I know how to train, man. I mean, I follow guys like Dorian and Ronnie, and that mentality of going to the gym and training. Like the last week on Olympia, Matt had to kind of like pull me back a little bit because I'm still trying to like push the fucking weight. So,
but that's why you have dense muscle. I mean, people want to know how you get grainy, dense muscle. It's not genetic. I lifted very heavy when I was, you know how I used to lift, and so Dorian lifted like that. I mean, the guys that lift super heavy, they might be more prone to injuries. Let's face it. I mean, it's more dangerous, but you get that grainy, dry look to the muscle. I mean, Ronnie had it. I mean, Lavroni had it, right?
I always say you can take two physiques, put them next to each other, and you can tell the guy who lifts with the heavy compound movements versus the guy who does cables and machines. Right. It's a totally different look. Right. One's going to be hard, grainy, dense, just gnarly muscle, and the other guy just going to be, okay, I guess.
Yeah. No, because I remember I have a friend of mine who's a massage therapist, and she used to massage Tony Freeman, and she said Tony's muscles were so soft and pliable when I would massage him. I mean, they look great on stage because he's got round, muscles, but he was never really a heavy trainer either, So, but there's a difference in the look to the muscle, and I think that's what's impressive when you're close with someone on stage. I think people's eyes go to your body because they see the deep separation, and you're just really getting started. You really haven't been going that long. If you think about, the length of a bodybuilder or the life, you just really kind of came on. I think you got another good 5 years of putting on putting on muscle and getting more muscle maturity too.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think I'm starting to hit my stride now. I think, obviously 2018, 19, and 20 is when I started really seeing the progression. Yeah. And like you said, God willing, I can pull a Dex Jackson and go for another, 5, 8, 10 more years, hopefully.
Well, yeah, I think what I mean is I think for 5 years you're going to make improvements, and then you'll be at the level where you need to be, and then you can sustain. Who knows how long you can sustain? As long as you keep yourself healthy, go for a long time.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely going to be able to continue to grow, make improvements. Yeah. And the one good thing I do a lot of is a lot of self-care. I get deep tissue twice a week. I get grassing, I get cupping, I get stretching. So all those things have enabled me to train a lot harder, recover faster, and definitely progress.
People don't understand, when you get to that level where you're beating the hell out of your body, if you don't get the tissue work and if you don't get the chiropractic, believe me, it really cuts your training. You can't train at maximum efficiency, right?
Absolutely not. And again, I realized that in 2017, because before that, I never did any of that stuff. Once I started doing it, then I started noticing my body really taking off and getting better at that point.
Yeah. Now, stand up. Let me see that sweatshirt. I love the sweatshirt. You got a whole line of clothing at GiantKiller212.com. You have your Shaun Clarida line of Giant Killer clothing. I love it. Very, very nice design. And I'm sure you're going to sell a lot of shirts now that you are officially killing all these giants. Now, the question everyone's wondering at this point is, obviously, you're permanently qualified for the 212 Olympia because you won the 212 Olympia. That qualifies you for life. But now you're qualified for the men's open Olympia. The question is, and I've been throwing it out there, is, there's a rule for some reason that you have to pick one or the other. I don't understand what the rule is or why there's a rule there. You have legitimately qualified for both. Why not let you? First of all, do you want to do both if you were allowed to?
Absolutely. I would love to do both.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean, people think it's a big deal. I'm like, who cares? He's there already. Why wouldn't you want to do both? You'd have to be crazy not to want to do both.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, who wouldn't want to do both?
Yeah.
That's, again, it's a rare thing, and not too many people can say they have the opportunity to do both. So obviously, if the IFBB and the powers may be say yes, you can do that. I think that's going to make history. I think it's going to definitely sell tickets. People are going to tune in. It's just going to be a marketing just madhouse in a good way.
Of course, they could put you on the poster for both. I mean, it would be ingenious. First of all, I even said before we started the show, we were talking about this, and I said, people don't remember, but when Bo Jackson was playing, NFL football and Major League Baseball, and Deion Sanders did the same thing. I mean, that was like the heyday. I mean, people were going crazy. Cross-training shoes came out because of these guys. Bo Jackson was on every Nike commercial on TV, playing like 14 different sports. If you remember the commercial, he was like playing tennis, he was running and hurdling, and they had him. It was a marketing thing because people thought it was exciting and it was really cool. I think people would go nuts if you were able to do both. I don't know why. And look, I think someone posted out there, and Dan Solomon, who runs the Olympia, obviously said that no, he's got to pick one or the other. If that's the rule that you have to pick one or the other, they got to change the rule. It's not like there's 100 people who fit into your. You're one person who's been able to do this.
Yeah, I mean, I know. I think obviously Hadi was in the same situation 2 years ago where he had to choose as well. So
right, but Hadi would have sacrificed his open look because he's on the borderline of 212. For you, it's not going to. In other words, it's a no-brainer. There's no way you can't make 212. You're like you're like 30 pounds, 40 pounds below the weight class. I mean,
yeah, for sure. I mean, that's a tough. If I had to pick one day, I can't really give you an answer right now. I still have a full year to grow and improve and see what I look like, a year from now. And then again, if I have to make a decision, I have to make a choice. Unfortunately, you guys won't know until December of next year.
If I were you, when I would go to the 212 weigh-in, I'd come with like a McDonald's bag and a piece of pizza in my mouth because just to f with these guys' heads because you're like I don't have to I can make weight in my sleep. Now, all right, let's say they make you pick, okay, because they just refuse to see the logic of this marketing bonanza and changing the rule because there's no reason. The rule is ridiculous. There's no reason for the rule. It doesn't help anything. All it does is inhibit marketing of the show. So let's assume that they want to be stubborn and they don't want to change it this year. What are you thinking in your head? Like, I personally would love to, since you won if you didn't win the Olympia or 212, I would have said, you know what, you got to do the 212 Olympia because you have a very good chance of winning that, obviously. But because you won that, I'm thinking, wouldn't it be great to just do the Open and try to break the top 6 as, a former 212 champ? Flex Lewis is going to be in there. It gives you another chance to step on stage against him at your best, What do you think about that?
It's tough, man, because, again, I always said I'd rather be the best at what I do versus being a number 3, 4, 5, or 6 guy and, in another league. But
this is the same league, though, but you're going into the biggest league, now with the Open.
Yeah, I know, I get it. But, being a champion, it definitely sounds a lot better than being, hey, I place 5th.
Yeah, you know what? But like I said, because you won already, it's like, all right, you know what? I beat those guys already. I can move on to my next thing. Now, obviously, $50,000 is a nice amount of money too. So don't get me wrong. I could see why you'd want to win the 212 Olympia. I mean, they raise the prize money. You're getting a little bit more notoriety with that.
Yep,
but
exactly.
You have to say, as the bodybuilder in you, the guy who started out in the gym saying, I want to be Mr. Olympia, you have to say almost like, I want to stand next to these top guys. I want to stand next to Ramy. I mean, what kind of people would go nuts if they did a Shaun Clarida big Ramy call out, right? I mean,
holy hell, that would be nuts. I mean, look at this past weekend. I got Regan, then I got Sergio.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
Now, now another thing, and I had been thinking about this myself. If they made you pick, let's say you did the Olympia and you did the 212 and won or whatever. We don't know how it works out. And then you went and did the Arnold, like in March of not this year, of next year. So that kind of gives you almost like 18 months to prepare for that. And the great thing is that you don't have to worry about making a weight. So you can grow the whole time, without inhibiting your Olympia prep or without, doing anything negative for your Arnold prep for the following year. Because that's a show. Imagine you win the Arnold. That would be a great, feather in your cap.
Honestly, Dave, that's actually a great idea. I didn't even think about it because Arnold's in March, so it's a couple of months later. So I just have to continue my diet for a couple more weeks and go right into the Arnold. And then, like you said, the lineup I doubt will be as deep as the Olympia. And again, I've already beaten an Arnold Classic champion in Cedric, and Sergio obviously was fourth there. So, that's a great idea. Who knows?
Yeah, because think about it, people don't remember it, but next year's Olympia is in December. So you actually have a full calendar year. Assuming you're cleaning yourself out now, you got a full year to prepare for the Olympia, and then you'd have, like you said, about a month really or so after. You could take a couple-week break for the holidays, and then you got a month or two and you're back on stage for the Arnold. I mean, that would be, people would go nuts. It would almost be like what you just did now for the Olympia and then the Open again.
Yeah.
So, but we're gonna keep harassing everyone to make sure that they let you do both, because there's no reason. You qualified, you did beyond what anyone else is capable of. You should be rewarded for that. You shouldn't be penalized for that.
Yeah. I appreciate it. Yeah. We'll see, though. We'll see. We still got some time.
Now, where are you training these days? You still over in Diamond Gym?
No, I'm at Signature Fitness in Belleville, New Jersey.
Okay, and
that's my home gym.
Oh, that's the gym that I interviewed the owner of, right? Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So they've been taking care of me. We just did they obviously had my mural on the wall when I won the Olympia, and then this past Olympia, I came home. They did an 8-foot plaque outside the gym. Saying "Home of the Giant Killer" with my photo on it as well.
That is awesome.
They come out to my shows. They support me 110%.
Right. Now, when you obviously now that you've won the Olympia, you've established yourself, you're making some money for yourself, I hope. Do you ever what's in your mind now? Because I know everyone's got a plan in their head that's spinning. Where would you like to see yourself 5 years from now?
I still want to be involved with competing, and eventually, moving away from stage and still being involved with the IFBB somehow, and obviously established with some businesses with that as well. So definitely something with businesses, and still, either competing or definitely involved with the IFBB.
Do you see yourself staying in Jersey, or do you see yourself moving south? I mean, what's
we're moving to Florida. We're moving to Florida.
Cool.
Yeah, we're moving. We're actually in the process now.
That's awesome. What part?
Yeah. So we're looking at the west, so Sarasota, Lakewood Ranch.
Oh, you'll be right up to a couple of minutes from us. That's great.
Yeah. So we're actually going to go down there next month. I have my management team looking at some brokers and places for me right now, getting things lined up. So
you're finally doing it. I wish I did it earlier in my career. It's a very smart move for you, I think.
Yeah, good. No, I love Florida. Every time I go down there, I don't want to leave. I've been in Jersey my whole life, and my girlfriend and I decided I think it's time to start over and start fresh somewhere new. And plus, we just hate this Jersey weather.
Oh, I know. But people ask me all the time, they're like, Dave, you're a New Yorker. Do you miss New York ever? I said, no, I really don't. I said, especially in the winters. When it gets winter and it's cold and everyone's telling me they're shoveling snow, I'm like,
yeah, I'm done, Dave. I can't deal with it.
You know what? For bodybuilders especially, you don't earn your living up in New Jersey, so it doesn't matter where you live, basically. So it's almost ridiculous to live up there, and because there's no benefit for you. And as a bodybuilder, we want nice warm weather. Your joints feel better. It's easier to train. It's easier to wake up early in the morning when it's nice outside. That's why guys went to Venice, California back in the day, because it was the atmosphere,
And the cost of living is so much better down there, man.
Way down. No state sales, no state income tax either.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the plan.
I'm glad to hear that. This is the first I heard of it, so I'm glad I was able to elicit that from you. Now, are you one of these guys that goes right back to the gym like Monday morning? Because I saw you were doing a leg workout right after the Olympia, right?
Well, the reason why they saw me, because I was preparing for the
because you knew you were going to do that show. Okay. All right.
Yeah, exactly. But honestly, when I got home from this past weekend show, honestly, Dave, I feel really good. My body feels good. I'm actually going to the gym tonight. I'm not going to go. I'm going to try not to go crazy, but once I start getting into that zone again, it just happens. I've never taken time off after the show. Yeah. Maybe 2 or 3 days to kind of catch up on sleep. Right. But when I hear guys take 2-3 months off, man, I'm like, how do you do that? I wouldn't want to go back.
Yeah, I don't know either. I to be honest with you, I've never done that myself, and I always said maybe I should have taken some time off, but I felt like I was losing. First of all, I liked going like you do, but I felt like I was losing traction. I didn't want to fall behind. I wanted to keep going forward, type of thing.
Well, especially now that I'm adding more food and calories and water, I feel like I need to take advantage of that phase where I'm at my strongest. Not by my strongest, but the food is coming in. And so I think I want to make sure that rebound is done properly.
I tell people all the time, I said, look, the rebound after the show is absolutely a real phenomenon because your body is going from being starved of nutrients. So now you're hyper feeding your body more than it needs. It's going to build muscle. And you don't even have to lift crazy heavy. You don't need to take drugs. You will grow no matter what. I have guys that are like putting muscle on for 6 weeks. They're not even on any gear or anything like that because their bodies are hyper compensating for the fact that all this extra nutrients is available now.
Exactly. I've done it every year. I'll take 2 or 3 days off, but then I'm right back to the gym. And like you said, I'm pretty much just running off of food and water, and my body's just soaking it all up.
Yeah. It's a very real phenomenon. It's not like a made up like one of these, bodybuilding bro terms. It's legitimate. You come back after a show, you're crazy if you take 2-3 weeks off. That's like your best time to put on size.
Exactly. Unless you've had aches and pains going into the show, then injuries. I can understand that. Yeah, right.
Injuries.
For sure.
One time I did a show and I had an injury and I rested it for about like 5 days after the show. And I went back and I still was, it didn't matter. It was like, it was even better, So there's a diminishing point. Like, there is an advantage to taking some time off, but I think people go too far with it. But then again, like you said, if people have chronic injuries that they need to rest and maybe it's going to extend their career. Most of the great bodybuilders that said that they took long periods off, it was really at the end of their career they were doing that. They weren't doing it their whole career. Only Shaun Ray did it his whole career, but like guys like Levroni, they started doing that more towards the latter part of their career, I think, to try to extend their career,
Exactly. I think like Dexter Jackson even takes time off, but that was later on, I believe, in his career.
Yeah, he wasn't losing any muscle after having it for 40 years. Wasn't leaving his body so quickly. Well, Shaun, once again, congratulations on the huge win. Obviously, the second place at the Olympia was a tremendous accolade. I mean, a lot of people thought you should have won that. It was a very close battle. And I'm sure you want to get revenge on Lunsford next year. So hopefully they let you do both.
Yeah, thank you, Dave. No, I mean, losing Lunsford definitely hurt. But again, the one good thing that came out of it is it got me to Reno, Nevada, and got my first open win. Yeah. And I definitely wanted to end my season on a high note. And what better way to do that than to qualify for the Open Olympia?
And you know what? You added a level of excitement to that show that it wouldn't have had you not been there. So I'm sure Chris Minnis is very happy that you did the show.
Well, shout out to Chris, man, because I actually won that same show in 2018 at a 212 competitor when they had it.
Chris is a great promoter, and he does a great job over there. All right, well, check out Shaun's website, giantkiller212.com, for all his clothing and all the paraphernalia he sells. For now, we are out of time. I'm Dave Palumbo with the Giant Killer. We'll see you next time.